All right, great. Thanks, Tanya. So, as Tanya said, I'm with College Savings Bank. We're actually a program manager for the State of Arizona 529 plan. And so, State of Arizona oversees us as well as the FDIC because nationally we're one of the only bank products for 529 plans. And so we've got that FDIC oversight, which means your accounts are covered up to $250,000 through FDIC insurance. And in Arizona, you actually can have as much as $396,000 in a 529 account per beneficiary. We don't see a lot of accounts with those values, but it's not unusual for folks to get upwards into $100,000 into college savings accounts, depending on what their student is going to do. So I got a little information about age of students. So we've got the very young. So how many people have kids under 10 years old? Okay. And then how about those teenage years? How many have teenagers? Okay. And then are any of you looking at this for you to set up a 529? Because you can also set it up for yourself. Okay, because there are some tax advantages to doing that. So you have older students, they're in college right now. Okay, all right. All right. Exactly. Yes, exactly. So we all know that college costs, and right now a 4-year degree in Arizona really is $100,000, but most kids are not graduating in 4 years. The College Board now actually compares schools at 6 years. So it's taking an average of about 5.5 years for most students just to get what used to be a 4-year degree is now taking about 5.5 years. And some of that is students change their mind. That happens a lot. Sometimes they start down a pathway and they need to get a particular class and they can't get that class, so it sets them off a year. And so each of these little things add just a little bit more time, and time means money when you're looking at college, because that means possibly another semester, another year in college. And if we look at the trend, really it is 5% compounded growth in the cost of college right now. And it has been, Arizona actually doubled in cost for our state universities in the last 10 years. And so ASU, U of A, NAU, GCU, they're all in that $25,000 range, and that is cost of attendance. So nobody writes out a check for $25,000 because you have tuition, you have room and board, you have transportation costs, you have books, and so those are little pieces. So when you add up all of those things, really it's about $25,000 for undergraduate work. But why? And you guys know this, why do you go ahead and get that degree and go to graduate school? Because you're going to make more money. And if you're setting money aside for your students, hopefully that means that your student will not be coming back home to live with you because they can't get a job. So you guys are definitely in the right field of study because any of the health services, it's growing. The projection is for more growth. And we really don't see a decline like we do in other areas of study. But over the course of 40 years, and you probably have heard this before, the difference between a high school diploma and a degree gets you about how much more over your working life? Anybody? $1 million over 40 years of working is the anticipated projections. So this is just to show the difference between setting money aside versus borrowing money. And there's not a lot of places where you can get 6.8% interest right now, but that is what the college loans are. The direct loans are 6.8% for students. And so if you don't put money away and you take out those loans at 6.8%, you're paying about double than if you were to set money aside for college costs. It's interesting. I went into the study last night, and it talks about no matter what your income level is, that if any money is set aside for a student to go to college, the likelihood of them going to college and graduating is much higher than if you had no money designated specifically for college. Just really interesting, because it's more of a mindset. It's how you talk about college with your family, and if you've got any money set aside at all, the anticipation, with your students is, yes, they are going to go to college. So there's several different ways that you can set money aside for college. UTMA, UGMA accounts, Coverdale's, 529s. So UTMA, UGMAs are a way that you can set money aside. People do it for tax benefits, but what happens is when the student gets to the age of majority, in Arizona that's 21, they have access to those funds, and they don't necessarily have to use those funds for college. So sometimes that is a good practice in a family. Other times you might want to reconsider. Coverdale's have a maximum of $2,000 per year that you can set aside in a Coverdale account for a student. That money can also be used for kindergarten through college. So Coverdale's are really an old type of an account. I don't want to say they're going to fade away, but 529s really have come up as the replacement, and 529s are used for secondary college expenses. So what is a 529? A 529 is just the IRS code. Like a 401 is for your retirement, a 501 is a qualified account for college savings plans, which means that the account grows tax deferred, and then when you're ready to use it and you take those withdrawals, and you're taking those withdrawals for qualified education expenses, then that money comes out tax-free when you're using it for those qualified expenses. And the qualified expenses, tuition fees, room, board, books, pens, pencils. Computer is the only iffy one. And legislation over the last few years has changed, and it all depends on whether your course of study requires you to have a computer. In these days, many courses do, but some don't. And if it doesn't require you to have a computer, then it actually is not a qualified withdrawal. So 529, I don't want to go over each of these points, but some of the main points is there. I gave you a sheet here on. This is the state tax deduction, and this just increased for 2013, and it is a single person can put $2,000 away, or a married couple can put $4,000 away to cap out each year for the state tax deduction. So that's an Arizona state tax deduction. And so that's an adjustment to your gross income, and that is not the total amount that you can set aside. I said earlier that in Arizona you can have $396,000 in a qualified account per beneficiary, but to max out the Arizona state tax deduction, it's $2,000 for a single person and $4,000 for a married couple. So who can you open a 529 account for? You can open it for yourself. So if you wanted to take advantage of the tax deduction, for example, you can set aside money in 2013. We have an account, it's called it's a high savings, but it's still designated as a 529, and it has no withdrawal penalties. You can take it out, or you can put it in and take it out the next day. So for 2013, if you wanted to set some money aside in an account, take the tax deduction, and then pay any tuition necessary next semester, then you can get the tax deduction for 2013. And so you can do that for yourself. You can do that for your students. You can do that for grandchildren. You can do it for the little girl down the street. Or if you're part of a charitable organization, you can actually set it up for you don't have to name a specific beneficiary. A group can put money together and then later down the road designate a beneficiary. But when you name a beneficiary, for example, let's say you name your daughter, and your daughter does not go to school, what happens? Well, that money can be transferred to siblings, step-siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, back to the parents, back to maybe to the grandparents. It has to be a relationship to that beneficiary. And so the web of who it can go out to is really pretty broad. And so I know some people are afraid, well, if I set it aside, my student doesn't go to school, do I lose that money? And so you really have a lot of different ways that you can use that money. If the student then is older and gets married, that money can actually be used for the student's spouse as well. So again, you've got a really broad range of people that can actually use that money. Well, it depends. So for example, if let's say you had 3 students, and so you have a choice. You can open 3 separate accounts, or you can name yourself as beneficiary, and then as needed, you can then shift the money to each of the beneficiaries of those 3 as you need the money. So you have a choice whether you want to maintain 3 accounts or if you want to just maintain 1 account. Okay? And so grandparents, it works out really well for grandparents. Number one, it stays pretty well outside the financial aid calculation, which is handy for some families that might be need eligible. Forgot where I was going with that one.
So like, I'm an aunt, and if I wanted to put money away, it doesn't count in their FAFSA?
It does not. Okay. Yep, it does not. And so that can be a real benefit for somebody who is right at that need-based level. Okay. Yes, you had a question?
I was just going to make a statement, which I think is what you were leading to, was that if you happen to have parents that would like to do that, it's nice because then, like you said, on the FAFSA forms, it's not something that the parent has to actually report that it's part of household, right?
No, that's not correct. So a parent, so it's a parent, when we're looking at the FAFSA, it is a parent-owned asset, okay? Parents have an asset allowance, so they're allowed so much money in assets before that starts counting against them. So that may or may not work for a family. But typically, if a family makes $100,000 plus, you're not going to be need-based anyways. And so it really doesn't make any difference whether you have the money in a 529 or a savings account or a mutual fund account when you're looking at need for the need-based scenario. But the 529, what it does for you is you get the tax deduction, you have that tax-free growth, and then so it is a parent asset, so it's not counted on the student's calculation. If it is an aunt's name or grandparent's name, it's not even counted as an asset, but how it is counted is a contribution to that student. Okay, so if they don't catch you one way, they catch you in a different way, but it's not as harsh when they're catching it on just the distribution, because that's only a small amount versus if you've got a larger account set aside, not the whole thing's getting counted against you in the FAFSA calculation. Let's see. In Arizona, you can open an account in any state, so you don't have to pick an Arizona state account. You can pick an account anywhere across the United States, and Arizona is going to give you the state tax deduction. Okay. Also, a 529, the money can be used at any accredited university. So whether that's junior college, 4-year, grad school, some programs abroad, the key is they have to have a FAFSA code. If they have a FAFSA code, they're an accredited university, and the 529 can be used for that. And something I meant to say a bit earlier is, so what happens if your student gets a scholarship? You've got this money set aside. You can actually take a withdrawal equal to that scholarship if you want to. But what I tell families a lot of times, if you've got a student that is getting scholarships because they're really bright, then guess what? They're probably more likely to go to graduate school, so you might want to leave that money in the account and let it continue to grow rather than take the withdrawal. But you have that option. You can take that withdrawal if they were to get a scholarship, and you can take it as an equal amount. So we already talked about the state tax deduction, and that we're an FDIC insured. So specifically for College Savings Bank, we are CDs. All of our accounts are CD based. And what that means is your principal is always protected. We have no administrative fees on the account, so you're not getting little dings for management fees. Whatever you put in there is going to continue to grow, and your principal is protected for the long run. So we've got 3 main products, which are the College Sure CD, the Investor Sure CD, and the fixed rate CDs. So fixed rate CDs are 1 and 3 years. The College Sure CD is actually 1 to 22 years. I don't think that I would pick a 22-year CD at this point, just because hopefully rates will be increasing. So you might want to lock in a lower term, like 3 years or so, maybe 5 years, because interest rates should be on the rise over the next few years. And the Investor Sure is actually you get to participate in the market a little bit, where you're taking a bet that the stock market is going to be higher in 5 years than it is right now. So those people that got into the Investor Sure CD 5 years ago are really making some nice returns. At this point, because we're seeing such an all-time high in the stock market, that may not be the best choice, but I'm surprised because I see money going into these accounts every single day, because your principal's always protected. So you're never going to lose what you put in, but you have the potential to gain. So our accounts start at, you can do the direct deposit, and it's $25 a month minimum. And it goes into an accumulator account till it hits $250, and then at $250 you buy a CD, and you buy those. You make the choice of what type of CD that you would like to purchase. And so when that matures, then you have the option of selecting a different CD, or you can stay in the same type of CD that you're in. Let's see, all of you received packets of information. So I'll just go over a few key points. So the account owner is going to be you. And then the joint account owner, if you want to list, can only be your spouse only. Okay, so you're not going to be joint with anybody else. But if something were to happen to you and your spouse, you can list a successor owner. Because what you don't want to have happen is that money to go to your student, maybe it might not go to your student at the right time as the ownership. So you probably would want to have you and your spouse and then a successor owner listed. And then on the second page where it says beneficiary, this is going to be, if you're doing it for yourself, you can list yourself as the beneficiary. You can list your students as the beneficiary. You can list whoever you would like as the beneficiary. That's where the intended money is to go. And you do have to have a couple pieces of information about that person, and that's date of birth and social security number. You don't have to have, well, on the paper, you don't have to have it open at the time. You don't have to have it exactly when you send it in, but if you're doing it online, you've got to complete that. And so we do have a brand new landing page set up for AT Still University, but I was playing around with it, and I could open it on my phone, but I can't open it on my iPad. I can open it on my computer. So it might depend on what device you're trying to open it up on. But it's, if you want to write this down, it's www.collegesavings.com/ATSU. Yep. So on all of our paperwork, including my business card, we've got the www.collegesavings.com and then /ATSU. So if you want to open an account online, and make sure that the university knows that you've opened an account in when you, let me see, I don't know if this has the advisor box on it. No. There's an advisor section, and you can list ATSU as the advisor. And if you have any problems, if you're trying to do it online and you need some assistance, because we just revamped our website, and so not every link is perfect, and so, but you can do it online, or you can do a paper version. And if you do the paper version, you have the option of doing the direct deposit, and so it would be the ACH, where you would fill out this information and include a voided check. And then make sure you sign it. No, you do not. No, and you can change beneficiaries multiple times during a year. Okay.
What she's saying is you don't have to have that to change the beneficiary here.
Right.
So, does that make sense? So if you, like say you decided to go back and get a PhD and then, Kendall said, Mom, I got a full ride, you could say, okay, I'm gonna get another PhD in something, you know what I mean? And you could take that money out for yourself without having a divorce or death or something.
Right, exactly.
Am I right?
Yep.
Okay.
You just change the beneficiary, and you are responsible for tracking those expenses. So whether it's tuition and books and pencils, whatever that is, you're responsible for tracking that. It's not going to be tracked through the account. So you might say, I need a withdrawal for $2,500. Well, that $2,500, you've got an idea of what you're pulling that money out. That what amounted to that $2,500. Okay. So there was a question.
My parents have a 529 for my children.
Okay.
So am I able to contribute to that 529 or through I guess direct deposit here? You can set up to 5 accounts on your direct deposit as long as you have an ABA number and a routing number. You can send that. You can send your check to 5 different accounts. Because I'd like to contribute without being
The owner.
the owner.
Right.
Yeah, because they already have it all set up, and it kind of seems.
Okay.
I didn't know if that's possible.
You can. That's what I don't know that you get a tax deduction if you do that, because a 1099. No, I'm sorry.
1098T.
A 1098T for the money going into the account is going to be given to the account owner, and it can only be under one Social Security number. Okay, so your parents would get that, and depending on what state they live in, they may have a tax deduction or a tax credit. Do they live here or do they live elsewhere? Ohio, okay. I don't know the rules for Ohio, but some states do tax deductions, some do tax credits.
Okay, so when you can set up in any state and Arizona gives you the tax deduction, you need to be the owner of that, though.
You
can't just
do.
be a contributor.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want the tax deduction.
If you want the tax deduction.
Care for tax deduction, then you can. I don't.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Okay, so.
Yeah.
It's me.
All right.
Thank you.
What do you have?
Because I've been asking for this for a while, I've been asking for this, so we've been putting money into another account, waiting for this to be set up, so I guess I'll get with you, Tanya, to figure out how to get that.
Okay, there's a rollover form, and so I would say the best thing to do is for you to do the paper application, and then do the rollover, and then ATSU is going to be listed as the advisor, so that you're able to track that somebody here has an account.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Probably what you'll do is just not make that deposit into your other account for this month, and it would go all into this account.
And that's fine, but we did that from the beginning of my contract here.
Yeah, but we could, we'll have to talk and figure that out.
And I guess my question is, for contributions for 2013.
Right.
Up to what point in time do we have, does it carry over into 2014 to, like,
No,
same way?
into the
Let's do
year,
it
so
by December 31st?
it's December 31st.
Okay,
December
so then I gotta
20th.
get this done, and then I don't have much time to get it done.
Right.
So I wanna make sure I get it
Yeah,
done.
but I would say definitely the paper application, and we'll have to figure out the logistics of how it comes out of
Yeah.
her account. Yeah.
And then one more question in terms of the criteria for this. So let's say I'm gonna put it makes most sense, quickest, expedient, most expedient for me. I'm gonna put in my name as I'm the beneficiary.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Because since I can do that and change the name over, it doesn't
Right.
matter, I don't have to deal with documenting, it's make it quick and simple for
Right.
everybody to deal with it. It doesn't have to set it up for me, right?
Yep.
I'll walk them through it.
Yep.
So that's easy, I'm fine with that. My question then is, in terms of what you can take the money out for, the
Mhm.
kinds of degrees, you said FAFSA, but does it have to be a degree program only? Can it be a certificate? Can it be something else? As long as it's in a,
An accredited school that has a FAFSA code. And so, we're talking cosmetology, mechanical schools, they all have FAFSA codes. So graduate school for sure, like I said, junior college is 4 years, graduate schools, and it's,
I guess I'm asking, because like we have certain rules for FAFSA
Uh-huh.
here. You must be matriculated into a program that leads to a degree. Does it apply to a certificate program? Is that sometimes?
Absolutely. Again, it just has to be an accredited university. Okay, so it's not the program within the university, it's just an accredited university.
And then when you take the money out, you have to be prepared to document how?
Yeah, but you do that with any of your other,
The regular IRS stuff, when you do tax at
Exactly.
the end of the year. Okay.
yeah. So,
So for expenses like housing outside campus,
mhm.
you just have to show.
Well, typically you use what the cost is on campus. Okay, because if room and board is, or if housing is $8,600 for the year at a particular campus, then you can use that $8,600 for this purpose when you're listing it as the expense. Yeah, yeah, because you're tracking that internally, and so you just have to justify, so whether it is actual money spent, not to exceed the cost of housing on campus. Okay.
So you can't buy a 45,000 square foot house for your kids to go to college in and expect to pay the mortgage.
You get the room board on campus.
Yeah, you get the room and board allocation on campus.
People were doing that
Can't do that.
when they were anticipating, a lot of people, there were quite a few, when I was in Indiana, quite a few parents that would buy houses close to campus anticipating it, because the bubble wasn't supposed to burst.
Yeah.
And so I know of a few.
But you
people
could buy a house, but you're only gonna get 8,600.
That's right,
You can only
exactly.
put 8,600 toward that mortgage in that year,
Right,
out of your 529 account.
exactly. Yeah.
That's the number.
Okay, so any other questions? Yes?
If you live in Missouri, the maximum
Oh,
allocation
don't
is
tell
like
me
8,000.
that.
8,000?
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, but what's the maximum amount that you can contribute? I mean, you told us the.
396,000.
Well, I mean, a year, like out of your salary.
Total.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't think we have anybody that has an account of 396, but I said, a lot in the $100,000 range, because if you look at the cost of college, it's not that unusual to put that kind of money aside. But yes, in Arizona, the limit is 396,000.
Why not
So-
400,000?
What's that? Why is it? Yeah. Well, it's just
Same
increased.
reason-
It was, I
Same
guess-
reason you can only make $399 over $299 over 3 years, so you don't make quite $1 million. You get tax implication.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same kind of philosophy of that.
Okay, anything else? Is there,
One
yes,
more.
go right ahead.
You gave the 3 choices before,
Uh-huh.
okay? So the middle one,
Mhm.
does that one still have the protected?
It does, yeah. So you're never going to lose your principal, okay? So if And it is, it's calculated over 5 years. It's actually calculated over 20 quarters over 5 years, the average compared to the S&P's 500 composite index. Okay, so if you want to take that gamble that it's going to increase, because right now I don't know exactly what the S&P 500 is today, but yeah, the total market's at 16,000, and so you're looking at trying to beat that 16,000 over the course of the next 5 years. So you are locked in. So it is a 5-year CD. So if you need that money prior to 5 years, then you wouldn't want to do that. I've got kids. I've got 2 that actually just started community college this year, and so I'm doing my best not to touch any of their 529 money for 2 more years. So I'm putting them into 1-year fixed CDs, until I know the time that I'm going to have to withdraw that money, because I'd rather let that grow while they're in community college. Say it again. Okay. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And it's, most people just stay in whatever they initially selected. They don't bounce around a lot. They pretty much stay in what they initially selected. Okay, none of these. It's called our High Honors CD, and so it is available online only. It's not on the paper application, and because there's absolutely no withdrawal penalties. You can put the money in today and take the money out tomorrow. There's no early withdrawal. So if you wanted to put it in to get that tax deduction for the end of this year, you would do it online through. Right. So if you wanted to move, $2,000 to $5,000 into the account, and then after the first of the year, after your taxes have been calculated, then you have the ability to pull that money out and pay your tuition.
Can they make just a deposit, a direct deposit? Let's say I went to the casino and won $5,000, and so I have $4,000. Can I just put that in as a direct deposit?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And on the application. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking more of tax return if you actually get any money back. So there's a mail-in deposit.
Yeah, one more question.
Sure.
So if I do the honors online, then it means I have to do the whole application online, right? It's
Yes.
easier.
Right.
And so, because I want to do that one, but can I also then do
Yes.
the fixed rate?
Yes.
Because for me, the 5K is not going to work, and in 22 years, I mean.
So that can be, the College Sure CD can be anywhere from 1 to 22 years. So you can choose what year you'd like it to mature. So if you know you need the money in 3 years, you can choose it 3 years out, 5 years, 7 years.
So what's the difference between College Sure CD 1 year and fixed rate CD 1 year?
The College Sure CD, let me verify. Right now, the College Sure CD is 3 basis points higher than the fixed rate CD. So we're talking pennies between the two. Yeah, for the 1 year. I mean, really.
So,
And if you want to choose your account, you can always call Lisa to ask those specific questions of,
I think there was a broad general, the College Sure has these limitations, and this one, it's all about just the rates.
It is. Yep. Yeah. So obviously, the longer you lock it in, the higher your rate. I mean, it's CDs. We all know how CDs work. But because of today's economy, it doesn't make sense to lock it in for 10 years, 20 years. Does it make sense to lock it in for 3 years or 5 years? Maybe. So then you just don't have to mess with it. So you're setting it aside. You're helping it grow. but you're not reevaluating it every single year. But if you want to reevaluate it every single year, I'd go with a shorter term CD.
And one last question. So I know for sure I need to do it for spring semester.
Okay.
And then for fall semester, do I need to put in that money now, or I can withdraw for spring and then I can put more money in the honors?
You could, yeah.
So I can put money in the honors anytime?
Exactly, yeah. But it's one of those accounts where it's pretty hands-off. It's all online. I mean, you can get guidance through our customer support, the 800 number, but you can put the money in, you can take it out as needed. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else? Yes.
Simple question, I may have missed when you said it, but they can go to school in any, you said credit program, anywhere in the United States, overseas.
So, some programs have FAFSA codes abroad. So, there are some study abroad programs. So you just have to make sure that it is accredited and it has a FAFSA code. If it has a FAFSA code, you're in good shape. Yeah.
It's an exchange program in the university here.
As long as it's
They still have.
well, no. If it's an exchange program through here, then it's good. Yeah, absolutely.
When it's 100% a foreign institution, then it
Yeah, you need to make sure that they actually have a FAFSA code, and it's real easy to look up on the FAFSA website to see if a particular school is there.